that I'm now a little bit confused. But I think it has been very exciting and also very illuminating to listen to other people talk. I want to thank particularly the two gentlemen you invited here. That is Polycarp Omolo Chilo and Dr. Oscar Otele from the University of Nairobi. I found their contribution very informative indeed, and with a lot of humor and good touch. And I also want to thank everybody else who has contributed in this discussion today. It was a wonderful session. We thought that it is necessary for us, before you go back, to have a PG, because you have not had a PG where you also brought the party leadership to talk to you together. And we felt that we should do it before the end of the year, particularly before we go for the Jamboree in Mombasa. So I'm not going to bore you with a very long speech. There's a few things that I put together that I want to say. About a year ago, we got together with the UDA party to help steady the ship of the Kenyan nation that had been hit by extreme turbulence and faced a reality of collapse. Some people may not even know exactly where we were, but because I had a first inside impression of what was happening, we were very much almost on the precipice. Because as you see, after so many days of demonstrations, you saw that eventually the military were on the streets. And they were on the streets, of course, they were fairly civil to the wananchi at that time. But that was because they had not been given instructions. And you know, there is what you always all the time talk about, the chief of defense forces. Once the military are given instructions, they execute. And we are almost there. We're almost there. So he said, it's better to have a country that is civil, where leadership can be replaced through the ballot rather than through the bullets. And that was one of the reasons why we did what we did at that time. The coming together started informally, with some of our members joining the government. We later formalized the arrangements through a memorandum of understanding, signed publicly with UDA and shared widely with the public. This far, a core agenda of our coming together has been achieved. We have a stable and peaceful country. We beat back the chaos and created an environment in which you can agree to disagree without staring at a collapse. I recognize and appreciate the role our MPs continue to play in the realization of this noble goal of preserving the nation. As I've said before, whatever the differences and misgivings we have as parties or leaders, we must have a country first. Only then can we set about discussing how to perfect the nation's imperfections and even who is to lead the nation. This is a core belief of our party. We stand for and with the country and act in the interest of the people of Kenya. I am convinced that Kenyans want Kenya to stand, and we stand with them on this. Ronald Reagan used to tell Americans, and I quote, "If you ever forget that we are one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under," unquote. As Kenyans, we know only too well what happened to nations that went under. Some took too long to come back, others never made it back at all. Kenya must never tempt that fate. As a party, we must never be ashamed to remind the people that we can never accept collapse as an alternative path to power. We must never be shy to remind the country that as a party, we have pursued compromise before and will pursue it whenever necessary in the interest of the nation. We had the option of taking it out to the bitter end in 2007-2008. All we needed was to insist that we would not engage in any talks with our opponents. But we saw the danger of Kenya collapsing, and we opted for compromise for the sake of Kenya. We steadied the ship when the gridlock threatened the Uhuru Kenyatta administration. In order to make the country move forward and pass some of the agenda that was seen to be pro-people between 2018 and 2022, ODM had lent a hand. We asked for no titles or positions in return. We insisted only on better policies and programs for the people of Kenya and reforms so that we would not witness the repeat of what had happened in 2017. History indicates that each time the leaders of this country have come together, some great things happen. We got the 2010 Constitution because we made compromises with the President Daniel Arap Moi and made him appreciate that it was in his interest, as well as the country's, to midwife a new constitution. We achieved more under the Grand Coalition government than under the NAC regime. The NAC regime swept to power in a wave of popularity, but quickly got hijacked by isolationists and quickly lost the plot to tribal demagogues. Over time, we have appreciated that it takes teamwork to get any edifice, a country included, back on the right track. Today, we are again seeing early fruits of cooperation between political parties. By blending what ODM has always believed in with what ODA believes in, we came up with their widely accepted 2025-2026 budget. Thanks to ODM experts. We have also come up with programs to implement agreements like the NADCO report and the MOU that lay ground for the realization of our broader national ambitions. The ability to make compromises without compromising the core values and goals is yielding fruits. We are not out of the woods yet, but we are in a better place today than at this time in 2024 or this time in 2023. Much work remains to be done in the pursuit of a stable, equitable, and prosperous country that delivers to the citizens. It will require firm and resolute leadership, regular consultations, more sobriety, and constant focus on the needs of the people. I mention sobriety because in times like this, it is possible for politicians to spend more time listening to the echoes of their own voices and the cheers from the masses, and forget that we are leaders and we are supposed to be leading. In times like this, it is possible to be lost in competing campaigns or populism and forget that leading means making decisions that may sometimes invite booing instead of cheers. I have been there. I've been cheered and I've been booed. I was once set up against the people when I set about clearing the ground for the Thika superhighway and the bypasses around Nairobi. Today, everyone claims credit for Thika superhighway and the bypasses. My colleagues in Parliament once disowned me when, together with KANU, I championed the Constitution Review Commission that laid the groundwork for what became the 2010 Constitution, and which everyone claims credit for today. So my appeal to you as we embark on some of the legislative agenda coming up is that you should never feel powerless or feel like giving up because populists around you are seeking popularity at the expense of leadership. When they call you Baba and someone sets the homestead on fire, does Baba join the burning of the homestead just because it looks like exciting, or does Baba help to put out the fire?
Put out the fire.
Does Baba release his sons and daughters to add fuel to the fire, or does Baba ask his children to fetch water? I know you know the answer. There's a time to lead and a time to acknowledge cheers. Popularity surges and wanes. Cheering masses come, change and go. But solid service to the nation, brought against all odds, stands the test of history. Today, I charge you to soldier on in this cause. It is good for our people. It is good for our country. If you act out of conviction, if you put the people at the heart of your maneuvers, if you ensure that our actions are in line with our ideals as a party and our aspirations as a country, the lack of history will be on our side. And I've said, as has been said by Dr. Oscar Otele there, he told you, stand for what is right for the party. And look at what we have signed. And we must remain as ODM. And we've signed and agreed that we'll work together up to 2027. We have not passed any resolution as a party to say how we are going to go into the elections of 2027. So wherever you are, don't commit the party to some things which have not been discussed. Let those things be discussed first. We are ODM. Who's told you that ODM will not have a candidate in 2027? Who has told you? So first, think as ODM. We have a clear plan that we have negotiated and we've agreed on, and let us continue to implement that plan. Other decisions we'll take when the time comes. Finally, first, I want to thank Mbadi for bringing out some of the issues. Like he's talked about selling some assets. Kenya Pipeline Corporation. The pipeline is underground from Mombasa through here. Even if you sell it, where is somebody taking it to? it remains very much an asset of care. It is just there on the ground. So somebody want to buy it, buy it. That is what Margaret Thatcher told Britons when the Arabs were coming with petrodollars to buy historical buildings in the UK. She said, even if they buy Buckingham Palace, where are they going to take it? It remains here. Your asset. It's an idle asset. Sell it so that you get money instead of going to borrow. Make money to invest instead of going to borrow here. I want to sell the shares of Safaricom. Why not? Why don't you sell the shares of Safaricom? It just remains here in the country. This is what my friend, the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has done in India. When he invited me to go to Gujarat as Chief Minister then, I went as a chief guest in what is called the Vibrant Gujarat. And there were many people who had been invited from outside India. And I was in a panel discussion with some of the Indian conglomerates, the Tata, Ratan Tata, the Adani groups, and all this together. And we saw how many deals were being signed, people coming to invest in Gujarat. State of Gujarat is one of the states of India. The economy of Gujarat was growing at the rate of 13% per annum, compared to 5-6% of other states. Gujarat, the population of Gujarat is 60 million people, bigger than Kenya. So I asked Modi, how did you manage to achieve this? He went into his bookshelf and brought me a piece of legislation. He said, this is the secret. This was a PPP law of Gujarat, which he said, make it simple like this. It will attract people to come and invest in your country. Armed with that legislation, I came here and I presented it to the cabinet. And I told him what I saw in Gujarat is something astonishing. We approved the memo in the cabinet. It was then given to then Minister for Finance, who was acting, Mr. Michuki, to go and prepare a cabinet memo. When he took it to the mandarins in the treasury, they manipulated it, changed so many things. By the time they brought it back to the cabinet, it was a different document. I told him, who will come, who will want to risk his capital with this kind of things you put in this law? It was passed and brought to Parliament, passed, no investors came because there were so many restrictions and private capital is risk shy. But when I was there, they took me. They took us. I was in that delegation as a prime minister. I'd gone with the current prime cabinet minister, Mr. Mudavadi. We were with President Ruto at that time, with Chris Obure, who was a minister for public works. I was with a big delegation. We were taken to a place called Mundra, a port, where they had built, Modi had given just land to Adanis, 5,000 hectares of land, marshland near the sea. They drained that land and built a port. So they were using that port to import coal from Indonesia. And they put up a power plant, 4,600 megawatts of power. Then the Tata Group followed suit and also built a similar plant, 4,600 megawatts there. So a total of 9,600 megawatts was being generated from that port alone. Our total generation capacity in this country today is not even 3,000. That's from that port. And then they built a railway line, 100 kilometers to join with the national railway system. A sleeping village of 5,000 people rose to become a village of a town of 200,000, eventually now 500,000 people. And investors came to invest in that place. They even built an airport in that place. Okay? Then I can give you so many other examples. So you find the same people, Adani, are given them Bombay. Bombay airport used to be so dilapidated, fly infested and so on. They could have constructed Bombay airport. Today Bombay airport is so efficient when you go there. You go and look at the Delhi airports. When Modi eventually became Prime Minister of India, he now replicated what he had done in Gujarat in the whole of India. Within the time that he has been the Prime Minister for 10 years, they have constructed 130,000 kilometers of railway line through PPP. They have, in almost every state in India has got 2 international airports in India. All this being done through PPPs. And that's why when Adani came here to want to do this airport, and too much noise was being made in Parliament for no reason at all, they pulled out. The airport is just like here, it is. It is as it is. They are not taking it away. They are bringing their money to do it. They are bringing their money to do it. And they will charge for over 30 years so that they don't charge so highly. That's what would have happened. Now, a similar arrangement is happening in Kigali. So the Qataris are building a Kigali International Airport in the same terms like Adani wanted to do here. So Kigali is going to be the hub in this region, not Nairobi, because of noise being made by other parties which were also interested in doing what Adani was supposed to do and paying people down under the table to make noise every day in the newspapers. Shame on them. Shame on them. We need to wake up as a country, because if we don't wake up, we're going to continue to sleep. There's many opportunities that are available for us as a country. We as ODM must remain ODM and remain focused, because Mr. President, Deputy President, honorable members of Parliament, hamjambo. Hamjambo tena. Hey, I think I see almost a full house. Senators and members of the National Assembly. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here this morning to see you. I want to say that I'm charged, but I'm not scared. You know, I've been a member of Parliament for this constituency for 20 years. And I used to meet with members of Parliament. I was a Prime Minister. And every Wednesday was a Prime Minister's question time in Parliament. I used to be harassed a lot by members of Parliament. That's why I'm not scared. But let me begin to say that none of us thought a day would come when protagonists just a year ago would get together to chart a joint way forward for this country. How did we find ourselves together, and why are we here today? One, in life of a nation, there comes a time when danger knocks on the door. It happened in the US during the Civil War that threatened to dismember the USA as we know it today. There's a region today referred to as former Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia existed as a country between 1918 and 1992. Then it fell apart into several countries, including Croatia, Montenegro, Serbia, Slovenia, Bosnia, and Macedonia. The former president of Yugoslavia, the late General Joseph Broz Tito, used to say jokingly that I am the glue that is holding this fragile nation called Yugoslavia together. And if I depart, it may disintegrate in several small nations. And true to his prophecy, that's happened today. There's no Yugoslavia. Closer to home here next door is Somalia. In 1991, we were here when Siad Barre was forced to run out into exile where he died. Look at Somalia today. So there are several examples that exist around the world. As leaders, we are supposed to scan the horizon, spot the danger, and act to subvert that danger. In 2024, that last year, we understood that the dark clouds that were gathering over Kenya could have been exciting, but they could also mark the end of Kenya. We decided that it is better to have an imperfect country that is struggling to mend its ways than to have a collapsed one. We came together to create an environment in which we can discuss our issues and differences as people of one nation. As you know, and as you know here, there are countries that cannot discuss their issues at home. In my life, I've attended many meetings in London, Paris, Istanbul, Washington, name it, where African leaders are ferried to foreign capitals from their own collapsing countries to discuss issues they cannot discuss at home. We go together to spare Kenyan that shame. Our object was and remains one, as one US senator called it, our country, our whole country, and nothing but our country. Having stabilized the nation, how have we performed in the intervening periods? How do we do better? How do we move forward in a way that respects the people of Kenya and that shows that we are alive to the circumstances that triggered our coming together and that we are acting on them? That is our object today. And that's why we are here today. We met and we decided that we needed to have, for the first time, a joint parliamentary group meeting. We could now discuss with our members of parliament. Just over 2 months ago, I had an opportunity to discuss in this very same place here with the members of the executive. They came here and actually came with the blueprint of the performance, what they had done up to that time, and what they were intended to continue doing going forward. And I was very candid with them in my discussions with them. And I told them where I thought they were not doing right and what I thought they should be doing rightly. So as always, I'm always very candid indeed. Today I'm meeting the members of the legislature. As you know, we have got three very important institutions: the executive, legislature, the judiciary. And I'm hoping that in not very far away from today, I will have opportunity to talk to the judiciary as well. So I'm going to be very candid with you people. to talk to you as a former member of parliament. Yes, the leader, Gimani Chungwa, referred to the Constitution and told me the issues like NGF and and Senate oversight in the counties is in the Constitution. I want him to cite to me the section of that Constitution that he's referring to. Because as you know, I was very involved with the Constitution, making Constitution of this country. And at another time, I would want to bring Professor Yashpal Gai, who was the leader of that Constitution making. And we went through very many issues. We had committees in Bomas of Kenya dealing with various segments of that Constitution. The executive was one. Legislature is another one. Judiciary is another one. Devolution, other committee. And devolution was very contentious because we had very many people who did not want the devolution because of what had happened at independence. As you know, we started with the devolved system government, Majimbo. The foundation of Majimbo was actually contentious because it was ethnic-based. The colonialists and the settlers had actually instilled fear in the people that the bigger communities, the bigger tribes at that time, the Luos and the Kikuyus, will lord it over the smaller tribes. And thus the smaller tribes need to safeguard themselves by creating regions and powers so that they can be able to be protected. That was the basis of Majimbo. And it was a very lengthy discussion at Lancaster House. So Kanu accepted Majimbo in London, but with the understanding that they would change it after the independence. So after independence, Kanu actually started to frustrate Majimbo by not remitting funds to the regional governments. I want to refer you to the Hansard in the Bunge. There's a motion that was moved by the then leader of opposition at that time, the late Ronald Ngala, of censorship of the Prime Minister, Mr. Jomo Kenyatta, because he had refused to release funds to the regional governments. You need to read that debate. Ngala moved it. It was seconded by Masini Muliro, who was the deputy leader of the opposition. And then Kanu, of course, responded. First Jaramogi, Oginga Odinga, and then Tom Mboya responded to that motion. The motion was defeated, but that debate actually is very historical. And I want to refer you to it. Go and read what it said. Eventually, Kanu, of course, had to fold up and dissolved, and then eventually Majimbo was also dissolved through a constitutional amendment. And then what happened was what? They created a Ministry of Local Government, which was given a lot of powers, Ministry of Local Government. So the Minister of Local Government became an executive minister, just like a Minister for Finance under that constitution at that time. Now they were county councils down there, they capped 265. But then they could not do anything without authority in writing for the Minister of Local Government. So we had all these documents when we were there at Bomas. But then we said we wanted to give more autonomy to the counties so that service delivery could be better improved. We came up with regions at Bomas of Kenya. But there are people who really opposed devolution. The chairman of devolution in Bomas was called Dr. Odinga. He addressed the audience at Bomas, and by the time he finished talking, everybody said that man should be the chairman of that committee, and became the chairman of the committee. And he conducted the matter so well and so effectively that he became a marked person. What did they do to him? In broad daylight, around 11 o'clock, on Ngong Road there, off Ngong Road, in his residence, they sent assassins. And in the presence of his children, they shot him and killed him. The assassins of Mumbai were arrested. Eventually they were released. So I just want you to know that the revolution has got very many people and very powerful people in this country today. Then after that, because you know that ODM is a product of constitution making. And one of the founding members of ODM is sitting here with you. The other one is the former president, who is a member, and quite a number. We are going to have the 20 years of ODM in October, and all the founding members are going to be invited.